Right now, 20% of the world's oil passes through a stretch of water so narrow that a skilled swimmer could, on a clear day, see both shores. It is called the Strait of Hormuz. It is 21 miles wide at its tightest point. And there is a version of events, not a conspiracy theory, not a Hollywood script, but a real military and economic scenario in which a single decision made in Washington shuts it down entirely. Not with a blockade, not with a naval battle, but with missiles, insurance actuaries, and the cold logic of global trade. To understand why Hormuz matters, you have to stop thinking about it as a geographic feature and start thinking about it as a valve. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and then to the open ocean. On one side sits Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, and Iran. On the other side sits the rest of the world. Every single day, roughly 17 million barrels of oil pass through that valve. That is approximately 17% of total global oil consumption, moving through a corridor barely wide enough for two-way tanker traffic. Add liquefied natural gas, LNG, from Qatar, which supplies roughly 30% of the world's LNG exports, and you start to understand the arithmetic. This is not just a shipping lane. It is the circulatory system of the global energy market, and it has exactly one point of failure. What makes Hormuz uniquely dangerous is not just what flows through it. It is how little redundancy exists. There are alternative pipelines, but they are partial and slow. There are emergency reserves, but they buy weeks, not months. The entire architecture of modern energy security was built around the assumption that Hormuz stays open. Nobody seriously engineered around the possibility that it would not. Here is the number that should keep economists up at night. In 2023, roughly 21% of all petroleum liquids traded globally passed through the Strait of Hormuz. That includes crude oil destined for refineries in China, Japan, South Korea, and India. These are countries that have almost no meaningful alternative supply route. Japan imports nearly 90% of its oil through Hormuz. South Korea imports roughly 70%. These are not small economies hedging against disruption. These are major industrial nations with zero practical workaround if the valve closes. But oil is only part of the story. Qatar, the world's largest LNG exporter, ships almost everything it produces through the same 21-mile gap. Europe, which dramatically accelerated its LNG imports after the Russian energy crisis of 2022, is now structurally dependent on supply that originates in the Persian Gulf. The dependency chain that the world spent decades building is also, viewed from a different angle, a single point of catastrophic failure. Here is the counterintuitive part. You do not need to physically block the Strait of Hormuz to shut down global shipping. You do not need to sink ships across the channel or mine every square mile of water. You do not even need to fire a single missile into a tanker. You just need to make the insurance unworkable. Modern shipping runs on Lloyd's of London and a small circle of marine insurers who collectively decide whether a route is commercially viable. The moment a region is classified as a war risk zone, insurance premiums detonate overnight. After the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea in 2023 and 2024, war risk insurance for ships transiting that corridor increased by over 2,000% in a matter of weeks. Ships did not wait to get hit. They rerouted immediately because the math collapsed. Hormuz operates under the same logic. The moment credible missile threats emerge in the region, whether from Iran's anti-ship ballistic missiles, its network of fast attack boats, or its demonstrated willingness to seize vessels in disputed situations, insurers pull back. Shipping companies do not sail into uninsurable water. The closure is not military, it is actuarial. This is where the story gets uncomfortable. The United States military, which maintains significant naval assets in and around the Persian Gulf, is itself a trigger in this equation, not just a deterrent. The United States Fifth Fleet is headquartered in Bahrain. American carrier strike groups routinely patrol the Arabian Sea. After years of developing containerized and mobile strike systems, including the Typhoon launcher capable of firing Tomahawk cruise missiles over 1,000 miles, the United States has the ability to project overwhelming lethal force into the region at short notice. That capability is designed to deter Iranian aggression, but deterrence is a two-way street. If the United States strikes Iranian territory, Iranian military doctrine is explicit. The response includes closing the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has practiced this scenario. It has mined the strait in simulations. It has deployed anti-ship missiles along its coastline. It has fast boats capable of swarming commercial vessels in shallow water. The moment American missiles fly toward Iranian soil, the insurance market does not wait for Iran's response. It prices in the closure before the smoke clears. The very weapons designed to project American power could, through the mechanics of the insurance market and the rationality of shipping companies, trigger the economic disruption they were meant to prevent. The consequences do not arrive slowly. They arrive at the speed of a futures market. Within hours of a credible Hormuz closure signal, oil prices spike. Within days, container freight rates on every major lane begin climbing because fuel surcharges are immediately recalculated. Within weeks, the ports in Japan, South Korea, and India that are rationing inbound tankers start creating backlogs that ripple backward through every supply chain connected to Asian manufacturing. Remember 2021, when a single container ship stuck in the Suez Canal briefly disrupted global trade and became a worldwide news event. The Ever Given blocked a canal for 6 days. A Hormuz closure would not last 6 days. It would last as long as the underlying conflict, and conflicts in that region do not resolve quickly. The factories that make your electronics, the refineries that produce your fuel, the cargo ships tracking across your phone's marine traffic app, all of them run on the assumption that the valve stays open. Here is the truth that the tracking apps and the clean shipping statistics do not show you. The entire architecture of global trade was built for a world at peace. It was optimized for efficiency, not resilience. Every redundant route was eliminated because it was expensive. Every alternative supply line was shut down because the math did not work in normal times. Hormuz is not a vulnerability that someone forgot to patch. It is a vulnerability that the world chose to accept because the alternative, building a genuinely redundant global energy system, was too costly and too inconvenient. So instead, the world built a machine of extraordinary efficiency and then ran it directly through a 21-mile bottleneck controlled by one of the most volatile geopolitical relationships on the planet. The missiles are real. The insurance math is real. The dependency is real. And somewhere right now, a tanker carrying $17 million worth of crude oil is passing through that gap, running on the assumption that today is not the day someone makes a different decision. So far, they have been right. The question nobody in global trade wants to answer seriously is what happens on the day they are not.